Hi folks, welcome back into the channel, Mozza here, and thank you very much for all the support again on the previous Footium videos. We just had the interviews out with, it was actually one big interview I split into two to make it a bit more digestible with Sam and George. Thanks again to the guys for giving their time, and if you missed them, I'll pop a link up there, as always. So go and check them out. It answers most burning questions that you've got. And if that doesn't cover it, it's likely covered in the AMA, the Ask Me Anything, that they did in Discord as well. So the Medium link in the description down below has an article that covers most of those questions and the full answers for you. And just a good starting point from there. As far as what we're doing today though, it's time to get a little bit more in depth to Footium. I'm going to give you, firstly, a breakdown on what I spent so far, and by popular demand, I've got to say a full kind of a breakdown of the budgets, including the gas fees, so you know where I'm sitting and what my plans are. And then getting into plans, we'll look at different ways you can own your club and run them, because when you look at real football, there's no point in taking over a real football club and not having a philosophy behind it. Barcelona obviously had their tiki-taka, Man City have got their Pep Guardiola inspired philosophy just now. Clubs that don't have a direction tend to get lost in the shuffle, and that's not what you want, especially when you're putting your own money into it. This is an investment as well as a game, bear in mind. So today we'll look at my personal plans for my 3 clubs that I currently own, and maybe one or two others, and hopefully that'll give you a starting point, a blank canvas to work on what you want from your club, if you've already bought it or if you're going to be buying it in the not too distant future. One quick request before we get started. I know I ask it in every video, there's a reason I kind of need to. If you're enjoying these videos, please do consider dropping a like, maybe even dropping a subscription on the channel so you get an alert anytime more videos come along. It'll be Fridays going forward, you'll get weekly Footium content, and I'll also throw in a couple of other videos here and there about projects in space generally, and there will be one coming soon looking at Futera United, and trigger warning, I'm not a fan of it, so apologies in advance if you're invested. It will be purely an opinion piece. And the same thing as always with all of these videos, I'm not qualified to give any financial advice. I will not be giving any advice on what to do, which is why I'll be talking about my clubs and potential scenarios. It is totally up to you what decisions you make. You need to make sure you're comfortable making them, and if you need more help before doing so, please go and get it. The Discord is a great place to ask questions from other people who are in the same boat, and ultimately financial advice can only be given by qualified financial advisors. So let's get into the budget planner. First of all, I'll tell you exactly how much I've invested so far into Footium, how much I've actually got back, because I've been lucky enough to already generate some profit. And where this will lead to is kind of my plans for the game when we get going as well. And I'll explain what that means shortly, because I'm very, very close to playing not risk-free, because there's always a risk with investment, but stake-free. I'm very close to getting the money back out that I've already put in, but still owning clubs. Let me explain. So it starts with Penn City, my club that are going to be my ride or die. We're doing a road to glory with them, starting at the bottom, trying to get as high up as we can. One of the strategies for owning a club will be that's your football club, and just like football, you don't change your club, stick with them. That's my plan for Penn City. I bought them on the 20th of December of last year for, at the time, 0.042 ETH. That was at the time in US dollars around about $165, including the gas fee. Any figures I give you right now will include that gas fee, because you need to, you can't basically work out transactions without it, because then you're not going to get a fair idea of whether you've made any money or not, how you're doing. So that was my my first club that I bought, and in terms of Ethereum price, I don't think there are very many, if any, that have been cheaper than that, so I got in at the perfect time. 10 days later, December the 30th, I actually bought a Division 7 club, Eastmouth Rovers. You might not remember this because I only held them for 3 days, but at the time they were 0.075 ETH. That translated with the gas fee was $275. And basically the reason I only held them for 3 days was because there was a pile-in at that point where loads and loads of people came in and bought clubs. The floor price kept going up and up and up, and I took advantage. I thought, well, I'd be silly not to. I listed Eastmouth again for 0.4 ETH and he sold. Initially I'd listed him a wee bit higher than that, but I got more realistic, brought it down. 0.4 is the sweet spot, someone bought them there, and I got the equivalent of over $1,500 at that point, which for a 3-day turnaround from 275 to 1,500, it's not bad going. I then reinvested some of that, so I bought South City the day after for 0.225 ETH. I thought that would be roughly the floor, and that's what it's proven to be. It's always been about 0.2 or slightly higher ever since. But my plan for South City is to sell them before the full game launch. I'll also explain that strategy later on. And because they are currently listed, you can currently buy South City, be it on OpenSea, be it on Rarible, any of these sites, for 0.35 ETH. So it would give me a little bit of profit, and hopefully when the time comes it'll give someone a chance to get involved at a lower price than what we're heading towards, in my opinion, obviously. I do have a third club, Ketran Villa, and I need to also give a big thank you once again to the guys at Footium for providing me that club. I didn't actually pay for them, but the plan with Ketran Villa is that's the club that you guys are going to manage. So you need to treat them separately from the two clubs that I've paid money and I've invested for, because Ketran, we don't know what's going to happen with him, because you guys are going to manage 2 games apiece. We'll see what happens. It could go brilliantly, it could go badly. It'll be fun regardless. So long story short, the total amount of money that I have invested, including any fees, any of that, £602.12 have came out of my bank account into the Metaverse, I guess you could say. Of that, I have already withdrawn £410. So we're under £200 at this point of money that I've put in that I haven't taken back. If and when South City sells, I will be taking that money back, along with a little bit of profit. That will still allow me to have money in my account ready to play, maybe use in the transfer market, maybe use on facilities when that comes along, get some Footium tokens when that launches. But I'm trying to build a sustainable way of managing, and personally I think this is a way forward for someone like me that isn't going to be a whale. You're not going to own several clubs over and over. I've done well to have 3 in my possession. That's going to be a lot harder to do in the near, not too distant future. Most people of my means will only be able to have 1 club, and I think if you can flip them every so often and get your money back, make a bit of profit, it's not a bad way to do things. Before we move on, I'll let you know you can see any transaction on the Etherscan network. So if you go into your MetaMask wallet or whatever other wallet you have, you can click on the further details. You can go to view any transaction on Etherscan, or just view your account on there. And when you click the transaction hash, I'll show you this on screen now. Not only will you see the price as it is right now in Ethereum, you can click on the transaction to see what it would have been at that time. Because since a lot of these transactions happened for me, the price of Ethereum has crashed down a little bit. So right now, I don't have the same value as what I did at the time I bought in, which obviously is not a good thing from an investment point of view. It means that I've paid more for things than that I'm worth at this moment in time. The example I'll give you is Penn City. At the time it was $165. Right now it's probably worth just over $100 in the same Ethereum equivalent. But because I've taken out money and I've taken profits as I've gone as well, it's not going to affect me. And this is something to bear in mind as well. It is an investment as well as a game. You need to take these peaks and troughs into account, and you need to be comfortable with them, because if you're going to want to jump out at the first sign of a dip, then this might not be the thing for you. In all honesty, you need to be able to almost write off the money you put in as that's fun. If the worst comes, I'm willing to lose it. You just need to get to that level of comfort if you want to participate in any project like this, not just Footium. So that might have been a little bit heavy on the numbers. Let's break things back down again, keep it nice and simple, and we'll look at strategies for club owners. So if you're in the same boat as me, you might be lucky enough to have a couple of clubs, you might just have the one club. Here's a few ideas of the philosophies you can put in place in terms of how you want to manage your club and how you want to run things. Everyone will be looking to do the same thing in Footium: get promoted, get their club high up in the ladder, gain value, get the best players, sell players in the transfer market. Ultimately, people want to make money as well as get success. There are ways of doing that. You can do it slow or you can do it fast. Let's start with number one, and I've touched on it already. What I will be doing with my main club, with Penn City, is ride or die. Basically, that is your football club. You are not going to just flip about on it. You're going to stick with them regardless of what happens. You're there for the roller coaster journey. Going up, going down, it doesn't matter. You are holding on to them, and you have no intention whatsoever to sell them on. This, I think, will be quite a common thing for people that are maybe only able to afford one club, or they might get into Footium after having been a manager, earned some money that way, and then bought their first club. This is a very traditional football way of looking at a metaverse football game, but it also will give you a little bit of connection to the club, I would suggest, as well. So it might actually make things more fun in the long run. Especially if you're someone who's used to playing football management games, you will grow attachments to clubs in certain ways, and this should be no different. It also takes a little bit of pressure off you if you do it this way, because you don't really need to worry about values too much until you're looking to get out of the game and sell up, because you're not going to be looking to flip things. You're not going to be worrying about, am I selling this at the right time or not? You're just running with that one club and taking them as far as you can go, and good luck to you, and I'll see you on the pitch. Next up, you can do what I am doing with South City, just to mention the right name, make sure. I am looking to flip them for a profit. So I bought South City at the bottom of the market after the rush in from the Z Racing guys. Prices went all the way up towards 0.5 before settling back down. Someone bought South City at that time for, I believe it was 0.35, what I've listed them at now, and they've then put the price down and they've made a loss actually when they've sold them to me. So the way I've looked at that is that's an opportunity to pick them up and then sell them on again at the higher price, because I have no rush to sell them. So I've listed them, they will sit there for 6 months. I believe they will go over the next couple of months before the game launches fully, but we'll just need to wait and see what happens, because nobody can predict the way, far be any investment market, but especially cryptocurrency. No one can predict how these things will work or if the game will take off, even though I believe it will. If that does happen, the reason that I've approached it in this way is that gives me a little bit of extra money to play with in the markets. So assuming that South City do sell before full launch, that extra 0.1 or just over 0.1 Ethereum ether that I will have in my MetaMask wallet can be used in the transfer market. It can be used in the Footium token when it comes along. It can be potentially used to improve the attendance, because capacity might be able to be influenced by transactions. But ultimately we'll need to wait and see what I can spend it on, but I've got the flexibility to do so without putting more money out of my bank account into it. It just gives me a little bit of a buffer, I guess you could say. And if you can do this well and flip clubs successfully, it could well be a nice little earner. But obviously it depends on, one, the market fluctuations, the price of Ethereum, the value of it will go up and down, and nobody can really tell you exactly what that's going to be at the time. And secondly, it depends on someone wanting that club as well. I specifically picked up South City because I've got a good trait on the fan base. I think that will be a popular thing when the game launches. Anything that can give you a little bit of a boost, anything that can give you a little bit of an advantage will be sought after. So we've looked at ride or die, we've looked at listing a club for a higher price in future and making a guaranteed amount in Ethereum or an Ether at that point. A third way that you can put a strategy in place to manage your club is to do it in the form of a DAO or of a group ownership. We've seen this more and more of late, where people are coming together to buy a club and manage them, either as a duo, as a trio, manager, assistant manager, or as a kind of groupthink idea, where everyone will have a vote on certain big issues, and whatever the group decides in the majority will be done. Again, you need to have things in place if you want to do this. You need to trust the people you're getting in with. As long as you can do so, you might even want to get something in writing for it. It will allow people to buy clubs that might not be able to afford clubs as well. So say the floor just now is just over 0.2 Ether. That translates roughly around about $500, maybe a little bit more than that at the time of publishing this video. That might be too much for you to commit, but if you find 4 other friends, you all want to put $100 in together, that might give you a chance to get started. And then say if the club gets to a certain value in future where you consider selling it, you all go your separate ways, you get your profit, you might then have enough money to buy your own club and manage things your own way. One other strategy that I believe will be quite popular when it comes down to it is the youth development factory. So I expect this to happen more for teams at higher tiers. What you could do is, if you get a club, say in tier 6, they've got a decent youth academy and you know the players you produce will be better than those in divisions down below. As long as you can skillfully manage that club to avoid relegation, you can mint the players that come through, sell them at a profit to clubs in the tiers down below who want to get promoted, and make money while still retaining your club. So instead of looking at flipping the club itself for a profit, this way you're not going to be selling that club, you're retaining the ownership of it, but you're selling the players. It is a high risk strategy. We don't exactly know how it will work out when the game launches, but if you can find the right balance that your club will be safe while at the same time making money off some good youth prospects, again, it could prove pretty lucrative. The risk is if your club gets relegated, you're suddenly not producing as good players, and the value of said players will be lower, as well as the value of your club as a whole. Hence why I said it is a very risky strategy. And let's round off with a fifth one. I think 5's a good number to go with at the moment. So strategy number 5 is the destination strategy. You buy a club at the bottom, tier 8, entry level. You have a destination in mind of where you would like to get to. When you get to that destination, you sell the club, you buy again at the bottom with some of the profits, you take the rest out and keep that in your bank, and you go all over again. You are the Harry Redknapp of Footium. You're a wheeler dealer who gets results, sells on, moves to a new project, and starts all over again. I personally love this concept. It was actually something I seen suggested on Twitter. Forgive me, I can't remember who it was that put the tweet out, otherwise I would have given credit. But the idea that you could just every so often start again at tier 6, start again at tier 8, my apologies, aim to get up to tier 6, sell the club, get the profits, put some in your bank, put the rest into another tier 8 club, and go again, is brilliant. It also means that you can build up a managerial CV as sorts, because people will want to recruit good managers who are owning 20 clubs, 30 clubs, the whales of Footium, if you will. So you could by all means do this with your own club, and also with your proven track record of success, get a profit sharing agreement with someone with a club at a higher tier who wants to get into the top tier, for example. There are all sorts of ways you can do this, but in terms of building a Footium CV, this method is probably your best bet if you have the money to buy a club outright initially, and then the idea would be you pile on top into your balance to the point that you might actually find it quite lucrative. So there you have it, 5 Footium ownership strategies. Give yourself a target, give yourself a philosophy. With that, you will find the game so much easier to go ahead when you know exactly what you're aiming for and exactly what you need to do to get there. You're giving yourself some manageable targets. That's the key thing here, because if you just want to own your club and just manage them as you go, nothing wrong with that. You might find it a little bit difficult to steer everything in the same direction, because there's going to be all sorts of different options open to you as the game develops and gets more complex. If you have a pure set goal in mind, likelihood is you're going to find things a hell of a lot easier on the game launch. So let's run through them quickly one last time. 1, ride or die. Your club, you're going to manage them until you sell and leave the game full stop. Number 2, the flip strategy, where you buy a club at a certain price, you then list it for sale at a certain higher price, and you know that you'll make profit in an Ethereum sense, if not necessarily in a currency fiat sense. Number 3, the group strategy, where you unite with other people to get going, run things as either a DAO, an autonomous organisation where you're all together, or just as a kind of loose group scenario where everyone has a vote and you make decisions collectively to the point where you're ready to sell and move on. Number 4 was the youth development factory of such, where you will aim to make your money from the transfer market and retain ownership of the same club, assuming you manage them skillfully and don't get relegated. And finally, number 5, I think we'll just call it the Harry Redknapp strategy at this point, the wheeler dealer, where you will be the the lower league expert, taking a club at the bottom, moving them up a few tiers, get them sold, and start all over again, making profit into the bargain. Why not? Who wouldn't love to do that? I hope this video has given you some food for thought. If you are either already a club owner or you're considering buying a club in Footium, if you have enjoyed it or you've got anything from it, please do consider dropping a like in the video, which will help other people to see it. Drop a subscription if you want to see these videos as soon as they're released in your subscription feed in YouTube, and also leave a comment. Let me know what you thought. If there's anything specific you'd like me to cover in future with regards to Footium, give me ideas. I am more than happy to crowdsource those out, and if there's a burning issue in your mind, we will look at it for you. But until the next time, next Friday, I've been Moza. Hope you have a cracking weekend. See you later on.